hello again, and welcome to Rolynn's Reviews. Look who's back by popular demand, of course. You asked, I told you he would be here today, and here he is. We're so glad to have you with us. And Mr. Blackson, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, Miss Lynn, and for the audience, me and Miss Lynn, y'all know she does, I believe physics and metaphysics and different types of chemicals. And so I was joking. I mean, we were kind of briefly talking about it, Miss Lynn. Those chemicals are always fun and games, is what I've heard you say to you, ma'am. Sometimes, you have different reactions, but I get the humor behind it. But if y'all want to know,
Oh
um,
my God.
I was doing yard work yesterday and I was burning leaves, and some of the kettle had fungus on it. And
Oh,
so
boy.
I didn't think nothing of it. I started burning the kettle, and the
I
smell
told them you were
started.
burning leaves. Now, I did tell them that.
Yes, I was burning leaves, and but to keep the fire going, I put little kettle and sticks in there, and
Hmm.
maybe sometimes bark.
Yeah.
Well, the barks had green fungi around it.
Oh, my
I tossed
goodness.
it in there, didn't think nothing of it. Inhaled the smoke. Maybe about an hour and a half later, I started, dang, my teeth started chattering. Basically, I got the chills. So that was
You didn't have like a skin reaction?
no, no. I just like my body temperature just dropped,
Okay. Yeah.
and my teeth just started chattering, and I just got like really
Okay.
cold, and I'm like, oh gosh, and I started shaking, and I was afraid to go in the bathroom. That's how cold it was.
Okay. Oh boy.
Yeah, I
Well, we're glad that you are definitely back on track.
hmm Yeah, I'm
I
definitely back on track. It only
okay.
lasted one day. It only lasted that night. So
Okay.
yeah, the next day I was fine.
Yeah.
So I was like, what the heck was it? Was it something I ate? Was it? And then I thought about it. I said, oh yeah, the wood.
Hmm.
Had to be. It
You
had
have
that.
to be careful. God, if it were me, I would have my skin would have broke out. I'm sure everything
Right.
just oh
Hmm.
my skin is extra sensitive.
Right.
So thank God that's all that you had to endure. All
Oh, that
right.
was scary, Miss Lynn.
Oh yeah.
I've never, I'm 52. I've never had the chills. Never had it.
Okay.
So when I got it, I was like, oh, this is what it is. After 52
Right.
years, I was like, oh, this is what the chills are. That was scary.
Well, we are definitely glad that you are back to full strength. I promised everyone you'd be here, and
Yeah.
he's back. Uh,
Oh,
as you enter, oh, let me move this up. As you enter the uh, chat room, do us one small favor. Please hit the thumb. That is the like button, folks. And hopefully, if we get enough of you to do that, that will trigger the YouTube logarithm and they will share it with more people. Also, those of you who have social media, do us another favor and share this out. Mr. Blackson, please drop your channel link because we have new people joining every day, and there may be some people who may not know that you do have a YouTube channel. Cammy says, Blackson, happy you are feeling much better. Yeah, he's doing better. We're going to keep him around and upright. So look at the title. We will do the um, roll call now. And we're just going to keep on plodding along. I told Blackson, it seems since the election is over, people are become a little relaxed, more relaxed and complacent. I told Mr. Blackson it doesn't matter. We are still here. We will still be here talking about relevant topics that we feel are important, not only to ourselves, but to you as well. We listen to what you guys tell us, things that you're interested in, topics that you want us to cover. Thank you, Blackson, for dropping that channel link. Butterfly Nest, how are you? Um, so look at the topic, look at the subject matter as I do the roll call. All right, Isaiah is here. Pinky, Chubbs, how are you? How are you guys? Florida, how are you doing? Of course, she runs the channel. Tijuana Border Jumper, how are you doing, love? Ruby is here. Cami is here. Butterfly Nest, and there are a few other people. I do not know who you are because you have not typed anything, but that's okay. You can say hello. You can send an emoji, whatever that supports the channel. How are you doing? Fairly. Cammy says, sorry, Blackson, autocorrect destroyed my spelling of your name. All right. All right. There we go. So look at the subject matter. And if you've been here on the channel for a while, you've heard me, you've heard Blackson talking about the detrimental effects on the Black community for the continuous support of the Democrats. And we can look at all of the liberal cities, the blue cities, Blackson as well as myself. We talk about this all the time. They're like war zones. And there is no way I would want to live in any of those places. Pinky says, Rolynn Blackson. Okay, good afternoon, Pinky. So look at the subject matter. I have a presentation. I have some videos to share with you. And because we always have people who come in, and some of this you may be familiar with. Sometimes, though, you learn things and you're like, oh my goodness, I forgot that. And sometimes when you hear it again, it'll click and you'll say, yeah, I remember learning about that. And we've talked about this a lot, how Democrats like to keep Black America dependent and poor. And as long as you are on that Democratic plantation, you will never have anything. And that's just, those are facts, folks, statistically speaking. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, everyone's saying they're glad that you're doing better, Blackson.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So let me quickly go through. I have 2 or 3 videos, and I also have, and some of the people who I support, Larry Elder, of course, Dr. Thomas Sowell is my favorite. Candace Owens, and I told you I may not agree with everything she says, but some things she is definitely on point with. So let me share this first clip with you. Blackson will give you his review. I will give you my review. And again, we'll just discuss this topic together. And I always have people who drop into the chat and they'll say, oh my God, you're tearing Black people down. And that happened yesterday, Blackson. And
I can imagine.
Yeah, someone came on and said,
you got to be careful, because Malcolm X talked about the difference between Black people and Negroes. What you were describing, based on what I saw in your description, is you were describing Negroes. But I just like, what I'm a.
But if you, again, how are you going to correct a problem if you refuse to acknowledge it? So again, it's like it's the proverbial pink elephant in the room. We all know it's over there in the corner. We're all huddled over here in this corner, pretending as if we do not see it. And so I want to address the pink elephant in the room. What can we do? And I've already started. I've dropped nuggets in the last few videos. As I told people, I don't know everything, but being in education for 27 years, you do learn a lot. Ruby said, I will be a troll today. Early warning, mods. Okay, Ruby. All right. So let's listen to what Candace has to say. Like I said, I agree with her as it relates to the Democratic plantation. So let's listen to what she has to say.
Made of your take on Black America. So you've used language before where you've suggested that people need to get off the ideological plantation, for example. And there's been a critique that basically says, you talk a lot about Black agency. Are you depriving people of agency when you suggest that they've been indoctrinated by the educational system, or when you suggest that they have been sort of told what to think, they've been lied to? Are you suggesting that people aren't freely choosing what it is that they've chosen politically, or do you really believe that it's really not a question of agency, it's a question of misinformation?
Yeah, it's a question of misinformation. And people always get me wrong. They think that I say things to be theatrical when I say the Democratic plantation. And people go, oh, you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't liken it to slavery. No, actually, if you sit down and you study the model of American slavery, and I say Democrat plantation because at the starting point of the Civil War, all Democrats had slaves. There were no Republicans that held a slave, that owned a slave. And when you look at the model of it, right, what was necessary? Illiteracy. Black Americans are not allowed to learn how to read. Look across America today. You can go into inner cities. Here in Los Angeles, you've got Black Americans. 75% of Black boys can't pass a basic literacy exam. Major cities like Baltimore, across 5 schools, they couldn't find a single Black child that was proficient in reading or writing.
I did reference that if you were here yesterday. So I told you I take issue with, you just heard the statistics that she gave you, and those are factual.
And
but
let
me give you this. Yeah, let me give you this point, and I'm going to let you chime in there, Blackson. This is the issue I take. Blackson, you weren't here yesterday, but I want you to hear this so you can also comment on this. I have an issue with parents. And now, again, I'm not telling you what I've been told. I'm telling you what I have witnessed with my own, these 2 eyeballs, Blackson, chat. Parents, Black parents will drop their kids off to the school 5 o'clock in the morning for basketball practice. For a large percentage of Black students who are not reading on grade level, if we offered tutoring, and years ago, one school I was teaching at did try this, they have 1,000,001 excuses as to why they cannot get their children there. So it's priorities. Okay, I've seen it, and that's always been a stick in my craw, as the old people say. Because if you have teachers willing to come in early and teach your children who are not on grade level, who cannot pass standardized tests so that they can move to the next grade level, you have 1,000,001 excuses. Oh, they don't have a ride, da 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 da. But basketball practice, they're all in there bouncing the ball, telling you what I've seen with my own eyes. Blackson, please address that, sir.
Well, first of all, I want to address how she did her research dating back to the Civil War.
Okay.
That Civil War is my specialty. So
yes,
there's a lot of things sprang out of the Civil War. And I respect that coming from Candace, being that she's not an FBA, okay. So I do respect it, because one of my things that I always try to slip into non-FBAs is to study the Civil War.
Okay.
If you don't study the Civil War, people from the Caribbean, Nigerian are not going to understand FBAs, being full-blooded Black Americans. So that's a very important thing that struck me right away. That's very important. And if you don't understand the divide between Black-born Americans and Jamaican Americans and all those Haitian Americans, all that, then you have not studied the Civil War, because the Civil War involves all kind of I know you don't agree with reparations, but reparations, the 40 acres of mule, why we have a special bond with this country, per se, Miss Lynn, because you had Black cavalry, Black regiments. Basically, you had Black people that fought in the Civil War.
Right.
So I say that to say this, because in a way we didn't. Pinky said, "Black son, are you FBA?" Absolutely. My lineage, Pinky, traces back to Marie Ball, Washington. That's how far my lineage goes back. Marie Ball, Washington. Look that person up, and you'll see who my blood lineage is tied to. With that being said, Miss Lynn, that's what struck me. So, but to answer your question, let me get into it, because I know, like you said, dealing with Black people and Negroes and all that stuff. It's like I said, it's kind of complicated, Miss Lynn.
It is, and it is.
It's very complicated. You got educated people in the world, you got dumb people in the world, you got smart people in the world, you got dumb, you got
of every culture,
of every culture. So it's like I don't expect to live in no perfect world. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have people who just prioritize certain things in a certain way. Like during this election, they're like, "Oh, we gotta vote for Kamala Harris because she's Black," and it's like, okay. So again, people's priority. In fact, I'm gonna give you a good example, Miss Lynn. Have you ever seen Squid Games?
No.
Okay, so Squid Games is a TV show, and these people compete, and when they lose, they're actually killed.
Uh-huh.
You follow me? Okay, so there's a big prize at the end, and they have to vote like, are we going to continue this and survive and take the little money, or we're going to continue this and risk being killed?
Right.
And there's always a team that was they're going to risk their lives because they want that money and increase it. So people's priorities are not always, how can I put this? Maybe not your priority, if that makes any sense.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so I don't try to change people's priorities. Is because some of us have priorities which allow us to reach certain goals quicker than others. So I'm gonna just leave it at that, Ms. Lamb.
Okay, that's fine. And I don't have an issue with people's priorities, but as an educator, it's disheartening when, again, I can't do it all. Parents have to take control of their child's learning. And the child, if a parent has an interest, then the student or the child will have an interest. And so I'm looking at it from the educational lens. Okay. And
Yeah,
again,
but if you have a parent that wants their child they look at the NBA and has a scholarship, like, you know what, I have a chance to become an athlete as opposed to become a scholar, then again, yeah, they're educated on it, but their choice might not be the same as yours, Miss Lynn. Like, you may not look at getting a basketball or football scholarship as being important. They may look at it as being important.
well, the issue is they still can't get it because they can't read on grade level. They can't pass standardized tests. So
how many professional ball players have slipped through the cracks?
there are some that have.
There are plenty that have. There
are some that have, but the sad fact is,
let's go back to the 1970s with the
hold on. Okay. Many of these people, all right, who choose not to take their education seriously. Now, I told you I'm going from personal experiences, from what I've dealt with in the educational system and the students, parents, et cetera, et cetera. For the ones who did what they were supposed to do, they don't have to make excuses. Now I see former students all the time. Those of you who've been here on the channel for a while, hit the like button for me, please, folks. I have students at HBCUs. I have students at Yale University. I have students who have received top security clearance in the military. I have students who are in prison. So again, it all boils down to personal responsibility. And again, I don't have a problem if that's someone's priority. My problem is, that you have not instilled the importance of education in your child. And so a lot of these students fall through the cracks. Some just get passed through. These are some of the people that we see working in some of these positions, menial positions, or working at fast food, and they're out here protesting. They want $15 an hour. Well, if you had taken your education seriously, you would have other options available. Because again, yes, I know some get passed through the cracks and some still make it on the professional level. But I always teach my students, you have to have a plan B. What happens if plan A doesn't work out? And so that's where I am with that. How you doing, Trish? Cammie says, yes, Rolynn, when I went to school in New York, parents didn't even drop off their kids. We ride the city bus and trains to school. Parents had no idea that their kids were skipping school. Yeah, Cammie, and that still happens. It happens here in North Carolina. Their fear of on point Black middle class is real, right, Lanita? And again, people need to look in the mirror and stop blaming systemic racism. So that's fine if your priority is basketball. That's fine. But I don't come with this victimhood. You're complaining because of the job that you have and you can't move up any higher. Choices that you made. And I'm telling you what employers tell me, students can't do the basics. They can't add, they can't measure, they can't tell time on a clock unless it is digital. So basic stuff. When the computers go out, Walmart, Food Lion, everything has to shut down. Okay? They can't count money back. Basic stuff. All right, let me let this video finish and we'll get into it.
Hold on, let me answer Cammie's question real quick because I think it's
Go
a
ahead.
real good one. So this is based on my personal experience. Cammie says, Black Sin, can you tell which child parents are on their A game when it comes to parenting and their children education? So you already know what I'm going to say, Cammie. Just based on my experience, I've noticed the parents of Korean children and Japanese children, they are very strict, like very strict. Because I played in an orchestra, and a lot of the Asian kids, man, they were like
and African too. I noticed African and Asian parents, they do not play.
Yeah, well, I never went to school with any Africans, but the Asian.
I'm talking about the students I have whose parents are from. Oh boy, no ma'am, no sir, they do not play. So I wanted to interject that because Asian and African, and people that I see, people who originated, their parents are from Mexico. If I call home because their child's not doing what they're supposed to be doing, it's a problem. Okay. So let me go ahead and play this because we have a lot to unpack. Thank you, Blackson.
So we are actually seeing through the education system pollution, the dumbing down of all Americans, right? But especially Black Americans. And when you dumb down Black Americans, that means that they start to look, they're getting their education from culture, right? And that's problematic. Father absence, huge issue. We know you actually were the person that woke me up on that. I watched an old video of yours on Black Lives Matter where you talked about, 23% single motherhood rate in the 1960s, 74% at the time that you shot that. I think it's 77% as we're sitting here right now. And what was important to maintaining slavery, making sure the family was broken down. They were constantly trading slaves. If you read Frederick Douglass's book, his autobiography, in the first chapter, he talks about how he felt nothing when his mother died, felt nothing when he was taken away from his sisters, because that was important to maintaining the slave mentality. So in my book, I have a book on slavery, and I really spell out, when I say Democrat plantations, I mean it. It's been updated, it's been modified, but we are very much still living on the plantation, doing the work for Democrats and getting nothing back, right? Voting for them in 93% margins is, to me, that's the form of slavery. We're doing the work for you, and we're getting nothing back. Our communities don't get fixed, our children don't get brighter. So I'm a lot more thoughtful than people give me credit for. It's kind of, it sounds like a flamethrower, I'm just a flamethrower, but I've thought deeply about these topics, and I believe what I say.
So let's talk about some of the cultural influences that you're speaking about. So obviously, there's the culture of politics, which is very much based in race. Politicians have an awful lot of hay to make out of suggesting that people are racist. Kamala Harris is I think the greatest example of this I have ever seen in modern American politics, literally calling Joe Biden a racist, and then 1 year later suggesting that she called him a racist because they're in the middle of debate, which is about as transparent a move as I can possibly imagine. So you have the culture of politics, you have the culture of Hollywood, in which movies are constantly suggesting that Black Americans are victims. Recently, there was a movie on Netflix I was watching with my wife in which there was a literal speech by Jamie Foxx about how America was built to keep Black women down. And then there is the culture of music. And I want to go through each one of these with you. So in terms of the culture of politics, we've gone through that a little bit. When you look at how Hollywood addresses race, what are the problems that you see there? Because obviously this is mostly a bunch of white executives who are attempting to I think, be sympathetic or empathetic to what they think Black Americans believe or want to hear or feel. What do you think about Hollywood's messages on race?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, the Democrats control Hollywood. You're not allowed to be a conservative, a vocal conservative, and still keep your job, right? I mean, if you're a vocal conservative and you come out and you say something, you're canceled, you're gone, you're out of here. And to me, it's become a huge propaganda machine. And as I mentioned earlier, when you have Black Americans who are not educated, Black Americans like these Black boys and who can't pass a basic literacy exam. Well, where are they getting their information from? That means they're watching movies, they're watching TV. Hollywood becomes the teachers, right? And I think that the Democrats have understood this for a very long time. And one of the biggest mistakes that conservatives made was giving up the culture war. The culture war is so important because so many people are not going to pick up a book, but they are going to watch SNL. They're going to watch an SNL skit and they're going to accept that to be some truth. This must be what's going on because they're making fun of conservatives on Saturday Night Live. And this must be what everybody thinks because it's made it to the big screen. So everybody must be feeling this. We all agree on this. That to me is simple propaganda.
All right. And so, and we've mentioned, you've heard us talk about Candace Owens on this show before. And again, I definitely agree with her as it relates to, how you doing, Jeffrey, the Bill ABC TV, Michael Johnson, Pinky, anyone else that I missed? Greg. Oh, yes, Greg, Indian children too. Yes. So people coming from other countries, education is very, very important. I've noticed that. And so we know there was just a big blow up with Ramaswamy because of the statement he made.
Swami, but what I want to, yeah, but what I want to address is that, you know, we're overlooking the top American kids that are in the magnet schools. I'm talking about American Black kids, white kids, you know. So I hear the problems with the education, with the people who are not reaching their scholastic goals. But again, this is in every country. This is in every country. India, I don't care, pick a country and I'll show you a country where you have different levels of education. We have that here too, but for some reason we focus on the bad, but we're not focused on none of the good because, you know, it's just not the norm to do that, apparently.
Well, if I were to pull up the statistics, mm-hmm. We know Japan's numero uno in education, and each year, the reason we're talking about it, Blackson, is because each year America keeps losing ground. And that's why I've said, once I'm retired from teaching, when I'm done with the school system, I plan on writing a book.
Yeah, but do you think it comes from the type of schooling? Because I think the private schools have better books, they have better environments, because you're talking to a person.
Oh, then you're talking economics. Yeah.
I've been because I've been in both public school and private school. And let me tell you, they're like night and day.
And they are
night and day. So,
so that's going to segue when we talk about, you know,
charter well, I'm glad we're dealing with that, right? Because I've been in both. Yeah. I've been in public and private. So
right.
I see both sides and how that affects. So again, when Trump is doing away with this, what do they call it? Yeah, I'm all for it too.
Department of Education, I'm all for it.
I'm all for it too. Again, because I've been in both, so I can tell you. Yeah. You know, when it's privately funded, it just functions better. It just goes a whole lot smoother.
As a business where, let's be real, the American public schools right now, as it currently sits, is it has a monopoly. Let's just call it what it is. Now, if you look now, Ken, I'm not at liberty to say everything I want to say because obviously I'm still working for the public schools and I have a couple more years before I can retire. So I can't say everything I want to say. However, if you look at the public school model, the public schools in America have been failing 50 years plus. Now, if you look at statistically speaking, again, if you compare America to other, right, comparable countries, right, you know, we're not developing, we're developed already. We are lagging. And again, I'm not at liberty to say, let me give you one example. If you have kids you have a classroom of 25 students and say you have maybe 15, 20 that really want to learn, you have 2 or 3 students over here that could give a care. And you're dealing with issues. And this is a problem I have with American public schools. Teachers spend more time with the students who cause the problems than with the students who are doing what they're supposed to do. That's part of the problem. And I have worked at different school systems in the state of North Carolina. I like the zero tolerance policy. However, one time I worked for a principal. We had an excellent school SRO. He was zero tolerance. Some kids were fighting. They wouldn't stop. He wound up spraying the pepper spray. Next thing we knew, that principal got that SRO out of the school. So you understand what I'm saying? So the way things are constructed, teachers, everyone's at fault except for the people who are actually causing the problems. And that's why you can't find teachers. That's why you're having a hard time finding officers as well. Michael says school choice will help, but the left is against that because they want people dumbed down and controllable. And that's what has happened to American education. They are dumbed down. We are required. Okay, let me give you another example of something me and most other teachers who give a care hate. If a student sits in our class the entire semester and does nothing, we're required to give them a 40. I don't care if they came to the class and put their head down every day.
Miss Lynn, I got a question.
Yes.
Do you teach a private school or a public school?
I'm public.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
Private schools don't have to deal with this crap. And since parents are paying for it, you're going to go there and produce, or else. Private schools don't have the same constraints that public schools have. So it is what it is. Lanita, back in the day, I had cousins stationed in Japan. When they moved stateside, their son was so advanced. Exactly, Lanita. Students considered him a geek, but he became the one with a high-paying tech design job, not them. Yeah, they pick on the smart people and call them square and geeks and all that, but those are the ones who are going to be your supervisors and your bosses one day. So be nice to people.
I want to tell you a fun fact, Miss Lynn.
Go ahead.
You know, in public schools, when I was going to it, and this refers to what you were saying about a child acting out of line, or, you know, we were swatted.
You can't do that. You can't do anything to them now.
Okay. No. This was in a private school. I don't know about public school.
Okay.
In private school, we were disciplined.
I'm pretty sure for legal issues, I don't think you can't do that anywhere, to my knowledge, private or public, because of legalities.
Okay.
We know, and of course, it's not politically correct. How you doing, Chocolate Bunny?
But again, how does that affect the private school, though? I'm not. You sure that's
legal? You Google it. I'm sure you can't hit. I'm sure you cannot hit anyone.
Okay. Well, I'm old, so I guess.
Yeah, those were days gone by. The days of our lives.
Right, because you're talking about children acting up, but I remember if we even threw paper at another child, we get swatted. So
no, you can't touch anyone, and you better not look at them too long. Okay, so no. Greg, indoctrination versus critical thinking. Our education system needs to be reevaluated, and Randy Weingarten needs to go. Okay. Correct, Rolynn, about handling problem children in Dallas. IS district, the lowest score is 70 no matter what. Lanita gets it. Truth bomb. Right. And we used to be on a 10-point scale. So 90 to 100 was an A. Those of you who are old enough, you know where I'm going with this. And then, of course, 85 to 92 was a B. Well, now that's what it is now. But yeah, now we're on the 10-point scale. So it used to be, I think, 93 to 100 was an A. But hey, we're just dumbing down. Let me play this video. Because Larry Elder, I wish he would get a position in Trump's cabinet, because he's been telling people for years. I've been watching Larry Elder on Fox News since the 90s when I was still in college. Let's check him out. Folks, do me one favor, hit the like button and share this out on your various forms of social media so we could bring more people into the conversation.
Yeah. He's the one to whom Joe Biden said, "You ain't really black unless you want to know if you want to vote for me or vote for Trump." I told him that the number one social problem in America is what I call the epidemic of fatherlessness. Yes. 70% of black kids are raised today without a father in the home.
We've talked about that on this channel. That's a problem. When the government is your father, the government, everything they touch goes to Pluie. All right.
To the mother, up from 25% back in 1965. Now 25% of white kids enter the world without a father in the home married to the mother. 40% of all American kids do. And the numbers are clear. If you are raised without a father, you're 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in jail. Even Tupac, the rapper, said that, I know that had I had a father in my life, I would have been more confident, I would have been more disciplined. 60% of all the robberies, the shootings, and the homicides in America are committed by Black people, often against other Black people. The number one
You don't hear Black Lives Matter say anything about that. I'll continue.
cause of preventable death for a white teenager 19 and under is accidents like car accidents or drownings or drug overdoses. The number one cause of preventable death for a Black teenager male 19 and under is homicide, almost always at the hands of another Black male. A Black male 13 to 43 is 13 times more likely to be murdered than a white male, same demo. Now, unless we're prepared to say Black people are just genetically inclined to commit more crime, if it isn't the absence of fathers in the home, please tell me what it is, I told him. And he had no response to that. But
didn't he say white suparemacy or something crazy like that?
He did.
Yeah.
He suggested that. And I said, here's the problem, racism and poverty. Here's the problem with that. In 1940, 87% of Blacks lived below poverty. This is before the Civil Rights Act of 64, before the KKK was alive and well, Jim Crow was still alive and well.
Bill Cosby did say that, and they tried to cancel him. Bill Cosby he said the same thing, Larry Elder. Exactly, Lynn. Good afternoon, Baldwin Birds.
You didn't have this kind of pathology. So if it's poverty and racism, how do you explain that? It's not. It's because of the breakdown of the family. And this conversation is not being had. That's one of the reasons I ran for president. I knew that I wasn't going to get the nomination, but I hoped that I could get the people running to begin talking about this. And to pat myself on the back, Vivek started talking about it. And even Trump did. He and I had a meeting in Mar-a-Lago about 2 or 3 months ago, and I mentioned this to him, and he tweeted something about it. So you're right. We straightened that out. Many of the problems that we are complaining about go away. The crime. We have in California, there's been a rash of smash and grabs where a bunch of young people come into a store and steal stuff. Often they're wearing masks, so you can't tell what race they are. But when they're not, and when they get busted, most of them tend to be Black. I would be more afraid of my father than I would be of getting caught by the police if I got involved in something like that. These kids are afraid of neither. They don't have a father in the home. Cops are demoralized. They're understaffed. They're pulling back. So they're not afraid of either their father or the police. We should be talking about that more, but we're not.
Yeah, they're uncomfortable conversations. And I think that is why ultimately why people avoid it. And I think
that's ultimately why people call me the black face of white supremacy too. Seriously. Yeah. And by the way, when I ran for governor, when the run was over, I went back to radio to fulfill my contract. And I invited the woman who referred to me as the black face of white supremacy to come on my show. Let's have a conversation. Yeah. Tell me what it is I've said or done that makes me the black face of white supremacy. Talking about fatherlessness makes me the black face of white supremacy. Talking about how bad urban school makes me that. Talking about how much crime is committed by young Black people, often against other young Black people, makes me that. Please tell me. She wouldn't come on.
No. I think a lot of people want to feel.
And let me say this. I've invited liberal Democratic people to come on the show, just like Larry Elder said. They won't come on. But don't think, because I have people sometimes drop into the chat and tell me how one-sided this is, and I never let Democrats or liberals come and express their thoughts. I have invited them. They have declined. So I wanted to throw that in there. Okay.
Now, Ms. Lynn, were these actual Democrats or were these trolls that you?
No, people that I know who are liberal, who are Democrat. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And they declined.
Okay.
And actually, they've been on the show before, but when I asked them to come and talk about the Democratic platform, they declined. Okay.
And be perceived by their peers as being a quote unquote good person, then they actually want to fix the problem. I think there are far too many people, and especially far too many politicians and people in the media who care more about feeling good and looking good than doing good. And you see this across so many different issues. I mean, I think is it San Francisco, where if you work out the homeless budget per homeless person, it comes out to something like $150,000 per year per person. And you go to that city, you walk around downtown, you walk around the Tenderloin, and you're just like, what on earth are you doing with this money? I mean, if you gave me $150,000 per homeless person to improve their situation, you give me 1 year, they're not still going to be lying out on the street in their own feces with a needle in their arm. That's not even fathomable. For that type of money, I mean, that's way more money than most people even earn. It's more than double what most people earn. So even at a minimum, when it comes to accommodation, like you can't, it's just the incentive structures are so broken. And then you learn more about it, and you learn, just like a military industrial complex, there's a whole homeless industrial complex, and there are people who are enriching themselves by keeping the problem alive. And it's just bananas, because then people just say, oh, this is why we need higher taxes. You just need to throw more money at the problem. It's like, guys, I think $150K per person is more than adequate. The problem is that people do not actually want, the people in power do not genuinely want these problems fixed. And that's a sad thing to say.
Yep.
But that's the obvious reality of it.
Well, and we know it can be handled if they want to, because remember when the Chinese premier came to the Bay Area?
Oh my gosh.
All of a sudden, the area you're talking about got cleaned up.
I forgot. I'd actually forgotten about that.
And, you know, I drive to work when I was on radio down the street called Forest Lawn Drive. And there were cars on either side, vans, dirty, filthy. You could tell they'd been there for months. People were living in these vans, block after block after block after block. And I'm driving down that street about 2-3 months ago. They're all gone. Street looks like it used to look. Somehow, some way, they got solved.
Yeah, and other big cities that are far bigger than San Francisco in some cases, they managed to, they managed to work it out. They managed to sort it out. And I mean, even if you expand the scope outside the USA and you just look at other developed nations, other big cities, it could be, Tokyo, it could be Dubai, it could be Prague, it could be Hamburg, whatever. Like, they don't have this same level of problem, and typically they're not even using as many resources that are dedicated to the problem. I want to shift gears a little bit, Larry. We've talked about the problem with familial breakdown,
and I want you to listen. I've always liked Larry Elder, and when every time he tells the story about his father, how his father came from nothing and everything that he was able to accomplish, it's an amazing story. So listen to this, folks.
And father absenteeism, and it's a popular talking point on the conservative side of the spectrum because we recognize just how serious it is. But a question remains: how do you actually incentivize it? How do you reverse this decline in family, what would you call it, family formation and families staying together? How do you bring more fathers back into the picture?
Well, the first issue is to talk about the damage done when you bring a child into the world that you're not prepared to feed, clothe, house, and educate. I think that failing to talk about personal responsibility is a big problem. You are basically giving people a pass for making poor decisions.
Yep.
And no matter how badly you are raised, life still comes down to decisions. My father never knew his biological father. He was born in the Jim Crow South in 1915. His mother was illiterate. She didn't work. She had a series of boyfriends she lived off of. My last name, Elder, is the name of some man who lived in my dad's life longer than any of the other men, maybe 4 or 5 years. My dad began using his name. I'm not even sure he formally adopted my father. So my father comes home at the age of 13. This is in Athens, Georgia. And he starts quarreling with his mom's then boyfriend. She sides with the boyfriend and throws my father out of the house, never to return. He had no money in his pocket. He goes down the road, dirt road, cleaned up barns, cleaned up yards, did anything he could to make a buck. Ultimately became a Pullman porter for the trains. They were the largest private employer of blacks in those days. And this little black boy from Athens, Georgia, was able to travel all around the world and came to a place called California. And it was sunny. People seemed less racist. And my dad was shocked. You could walk in the front door of a restaurant, sit down, and get served. He always had boxes of crackers and 10 cans of tuna with him because he never knew if he'd be able to get a meal in the South. So he made a mental note, maybe someday I'll relocate to California. Pearl Harbor, my dad joined Marines. He was in World War II, stationed on the island of Guam. And he gets out, goes back to Chattanooga, Tennessee, where he married my mom to get him a job as a cook, because that's what he did in the military. He was the head of cooking for the colored soldiers because the military was segregated in those days. Goes to a restaurant and he's told, we don't hire niggers. Went to another restaurant, we don't hire niggers. Goes to an unemployment office, lady says, you went to the wrong door. My dad goes out in the hall and sees colored only, goes to that door, to the very same lady who sent him out. My dad came home to my mom and said, this is BS. I'm going to LA where I was before the war, give me a job as a cook. My dad comes out to LA, walks around. You don't have any references. You don't have any references. My dad said, I need references to make ham and eggs. I will work for free. Just give me a written reference. I wouldn't do that. Unemployment office, this time just one door. She had nothing. My dad said, what time do you open? She said, 8. What time do you close? 5. My dad said, I'll be sitting in that chair till you find something. My dad sat in the chair for a whole day, came back the next day, sat there until lunch. He calls him up. I have something. I don't know if you're going to want it. Of course I'm going to want it. I'm starting a family. What is it? It's a job cleaning toilets. My dad did that for 10 years in Nabisco brand bread, took a second full-time job cleaning toilets at another bread company, cooked for a family on the weekend because they wanted my mom to be a stay-at-home mom, went to night school to get his GED, and then after getting his GED, went to night school to learn how to operate a small restaurant. Saved his nickels and dime from working 2 jobs as a janitor, started a cafe near downtown LA, started when he was 47 years old, ran it until his mid-80s, and retired. He owned that building, property next door, plus the little house that we still have in our family. And my dad always told my brothers and me, hard work wins. You can have life what you put into it. Larry, you cannot control the outcome, but you are 100% in control of the effort. And before you moan or groan about when someone did to you or said to you, go to the nearest mirror, look at it, and ask yourself, what could I have done to change the outcome? And finally, my dad said, no matter how hard you work, how good you are, sooner or later, bad things are going to happen to you.
Right.
How you deal with those bad things will tell your mother and me if we raised a man. I tell you that story to say, no matter how badly you are raised, you still have to be responsible. You still should know right from wrong. As to what to do about this problem, short term, all these people need mentors. I liken it to AA, where if you're a recovering alcoholic, you have a sponsor. All these men and women who don't have father figures need one. And I'm urging all the people in my generation, I'm the baby boomer generation, people in my generation have retired or about ready to retire. They're vigorous. They've raised their kids. They've raised their grandkids. They have life experience. They have wisdom.
All right. So I wanted to share that. Like I said, I just love when he tells the story about his father. So back then, and again, you've heard me say on this show, if you haven't gone through that Jim Crow racism and gone through what he just Larry Elder just described his father went through, these young people coming to me talking about racism and discrimination, I don't want to hear it. You did not live through the Jim Crow South, so you can lose that conversation with me. All right, so I wanted to show that, and then tell me what you think about that, Blackson. Yeah, I can see you're really, really engaged.
Yeah, I'm just taking it all in, Miss Lynn.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I was reading some of the comments, actually, were pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And again, back then, when you look at, hold on, let me get this where I need for it to be. Okay, we're going to the beginning here. Men would do what they had to do to provide for their families. And now you commonly hear people saying, oh, I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to do that. So you have every opportunity. And commonly, and sometimes, I think I told you, I help students get jobs. Sometimes students will say, I don't want fast food. I said, look, all money is green. So when they say I don't want fast food, that's a student who you're pretty much I'm not helping you, because you cannot. And some of my students who are working in fast food are making $12, $13, $14 an hour. So you're telling me what you don't want. You've lost me. The new Plantation, how the Democrats have kept Black America dependent. So I'm going to go through this presentation quickly. Then there's a video that I have from Ralph Ellison. Oh my God, he is wonderful. Hit the like button for me, folks. And I have not read Candace Owens's book. But hey, Vince Ellison, and you've heard me, you've heard Blackson. Two people that have been the most detrimental to the Black community are the Black preachers and the Black politicians. We've said that over and over again. I was watching when I was preparing for this live. I was watching video, which I've seen other videos on Vince Ellison, but he was saying the same thing. I was like, yeah. And I don't know, have any of you read his book, 25 Lies, Exposing Democrats' Most Dangerous, Seductive, Damnable, Destructive Lies and How to Refute Them? I have not. The plan is to read it in the future. All right. But yeah, we need to check that out. It's on Amazon. I have not. I will get it. Author, he was born on a cotton plantation. He is a sharecropper's, he's a sharecropper's son. And he exposes the Democratic Party. He was born in Haywood County, Tennessee. Again, his father was a sharecropper, became middle class through the insurance agency. So worked in a prison for 5 years, observing the belly of the beast. How might personal experiences, we know how they were shaped. Hi, Beverly. How you doing? Hit the like button for me, love. The iron triangle he discusses as well. So I'm going through this presentation and then I'm going to play the video for you. Black preachers, Black politicians, he breaks it down. The Black civic organizations. What have we talked about on this show? You've heard me. You've heard Blackson talk about the Congressional Black Caucus, the NAACP. So yeah, he talks about them as well. And they profit, they're poverty pimps. They profit from chaos in the Black community. Okay. He actually goes through the historical context of the Democratic Party. He talks about 1800 to 1860, 1860 to 1865, 1865 to 1965, and then post-1965 socialism, atheism, according to Ellison. So I'm going through this quickly. How you doing, MAGA Maniac? The big switch, I think we've mentioned here, we haven't done a show on it. When Black Americans stopped voting Republican and really started voting for Democrats, Ellison challenges the ideas of the parties. We've heard people say the parties have switched their platforms. He claims the switch started earlier around 1876. So I'm going to show you the video. You tell me what you think. Voting patterns, political strategies. We talked about that. We've talked about education and school choice. You know, I am pro school choice. That is the best way for students who are in a poverty stricken situation to improve their lot in life. He also advocates for school choice. So anyone that's for school choice, I'm like, yeah. And also argues for alternative education models. Again, the public school system basically is a failure. And if it were big business, look at Kmart, look at Circuit City, look at Sears, look at all these other businesses that have gone out of business. Guess what? The public schools would have gone out of business as well. But of course, the federal government funds it. All right. Faith in politics. He talks about the importance of Christianity in his worldview. Now, some people may not believe in Christianity. They may have, another religion. That's fine. But I'm just talking about for him. And he criticizes what he sees as the removal of faith from public life and argues for the roles of religious values in governance. He supports the Second Amendment, cites historical figures like Frederick Douglass on self-defense. He's for gun ownership.
How is he on separation of church and state?
Okay, I don't think I have that in here. Hold on.
Right.
Media and political narratives. Criticizes mainstream media for perceived by now as it relates to separation of church and state. Now, with the way the Democrats are in, I don't have that in this presentation, but he's pretty much like we are. They shouldn't be in there. All right, because a lot of things that they do, if it's not illegal, it's not moral. The way that they go in and put a little money in the plate or whatever they give. These
Ms.
Black
Lynn,
priests.
hold on. Okay, so when it's always listen to what you just said.
Go
You're
ahead.
saying that, you spoke on religion. Can we back that up a little bit? Because I
Well,
always hear that thrown in, and then I
so
think a lot of
with
people get
religion, as it relates to how the Democrats have traditionally gone into the black church to
Mhm,
get for the most part, women in the church to listen to the black preacher, because the black men, pretty much, you have a few,
mhm.
but statistically speaking, the black men have left the black church. You have a few there, but overall, they know it's a farce, except for the ones who, well, the vote blue no matter who. They're still there. But that's it. You can reduce the unemployment recipients. Patty says in New Jersey, teachers no longer have to pass the praxis. What, Patty? What? Woo. Okay.
You explain that?
North Carolina, we still you have to pass the praxis. So I'll look that up, Patty. I did not know that. And then he criticizes the mainstream media. We've done that. Race and politics. Okay, so I want to go ahead and get the video, and he'll tell you his views on the LGBT rights political movement, and how we talked about how Black Lives Matter. Pretty much, this is what why Black Lives Matter was created. All right, even though it says BLM. And he'll give you his stance on abortion, on the unaliving of children and the political divide, economic policies, welfare. He's like, I'm also against extensive welfare programs. If you can work. Elderly or handicapped people, that's a total different situation. But young people who are able to work, need to be out gainfully employed. And self-reliance and economic independence. We know that's not what the Democrats promote. Michael, a lot of these black churches are the enemy. Michael, you weren't here when I said it. The black preacher and the black politician, yes, they are the worst. They're the largest enemy of the black community. And we know the role of family in the community is important. And I'm trying to get through this quickly because I want to get the video started, because that man, he is, yeah. Crime and law enforcement. I back the blue when they're correct. I back the blue. I don't want the police defunded. We know there are some, like the case in New York going on now, who do things they shouldn't do, just like everyone in every profession.
We all know that's a far left policy. That's not realistic, Miss Lynn.
Which one?
The defund the police. That is
No,
far left.
they
I
started.
don't even know why people take that seriously.
Yeah, just hey, one of their progressive policies.
Sometimes we gotta not give energy to just stuff that's so far left and so ridiculous. That's why I don't acknowledge BLM. I don't give them. I don't acknowledge even their.
I don't acknowledge, but I still discuss things that they're involved in, because there are.
No, I get it. I just won't give them no acknowledgement. I will totally.
I discuss it because there are millions of people who are fooled and who are following them. I don't, but
you know people that follow them.
I'm talking about no, not people that I know personally, but I'm talking about their followers and the people who go out here protesting with them. Of course, they're paid, most of them, but that's another story for another day. Paid actors. But personal responsibility, we know that's a conservative value. And I'm all for it. And I want everyone to look at this picture here. Is it on your screen? Can you see my? Let me see. No, you can't. You were not. I thought that you could see my screen and you could not. This is where we are. Did you see any of my presentation? Blackson?
Mm-mm.
You did not. Oops. My bad. You can see it now, correct?
I can see it, yeah, I can see it.
So I need to go back. This was the beginning. All right. Forgive me. When I'm switching between tabs, I'm thinking that you can see it. How you doing, Ajax? And you can't.
No, I can see it.
Ajax, can you see? Okay, let me address Ajax. Are you denying that Black people and minorities in general are better off today compared to the 1950s?
It's a trade-off, Ajax Jackson.
It is a
It's
trade-off.
a trade-off. So again,
Economically speaking, you're going to address that?
Yeah. So it's a trade-off because back in the 1950s, we had our families intact. So
Right.
by having the families intact, and actually we had more Black businesses in the 1950s. believe it or
Yep.
not. So it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off. And you know, a lot of people don't know more Black people were armed too. They don't talk about that. More families were armed. It was common for a Black family, for the Black father to own a shotgun, and a lot of them own combat shotguns. So again, it's a trade-off. It was a trade-off. So
it was, yeah. That it was an okay. So where we are today was an unintended consequence of the civil rights movement. So once Jim Crow was no longer in place, look at all the Black businesses that went out of business.
Hold on. Ajax, economic power. No, we lost economic power under LBJ. LBJ said, we'll take care of you guys. You got to get rid of the Black
man
power.
has to go.
But the government realized the Black dollar was powerful back in them times, back in the 50s and 60s. They were very powerful. And so to break that up, LBJ said, we will offer you food stamps. We will offer you EBT. We offer you
get rid of the man.
Get rid of the man. So no, that is not economic power. That's a high-tech form of modern day slavery, is what it is.
Right. And if you look at it, that's why look, folks, look, let me show you. Ajax got the right one today. Ajax, hold on, let me go back. Ajax, hold on, sir. I think it's a sir. Hold on. What you need to do is read Thomas Sowell's books. So the trade-off, Blackson jumped on it before I could. The trade-off is, okay, yes, we can eat in restaurants. Yes, we can stay in hotels. But there's no segregation, but we're worse off morally because of the breakdown of the family. And Thomas Sowell, if you read some, he's written over 40 books. We were doing better financially then because the family was intact. And the Black middle class was increasing prior to the civil rights movement. If you read Dr. Thomas Sowell, this will explain so much. And I'm going through these slides so everyone can read it. Isaiah, you want me to email you the PowerPoint? Okay, I sure will. I will do that for you later. Lanita, economically, we're better, but morally not today. Right. Money stayed in our community. We bought from each other. They brainwashed many to believe the folks. Ice water was cold. Lanita gets it. Yes.
And so as far as being economically better, that's up for debate because we had more Black cities like Tulsa. We had Rosewood. We had Auburn. We had Black cities as opposed to maybe a couple of athletes or a couple of actors. We actually had more middle class people doing better as opposed to the higher, because so that's up for debate. That's debatable.
And again, Ajax. So Thomas Sowell, and now this man has the receipts. He's done the legwork. He's done the research. The Black middle class was doing better prior to the civil rights movement. They were already ascending.
So Peaky says the Black community is going to have to stop blaming welfare for Black men leaving their families. It was responsibility that made them leave. Can I add to that, Pinky? It was the crack bomb. Let's just keep it where it was the crack bomb. It was the heroin bomb. It was the goddamn black hashish. That's what destroyed the Black community. Let's just keep it 100. Let's end the PG right now. Let's be adults. It was the goddamn drug abuse. It was when got a
Drugs
lot of
that
the
infiltrated.
came
That,
back. Hold on, when they
Yep.
came back from Vietnam, a lot of them were hooked. So a lot of black men were hooked on drugs. So let's just keep it 100. And the drugs kept going all through the late 60s, all through the 70s, all through the 80s, all through the 90s. It was the drugs that did it. So yeah, I would agree with that.
Right.
I'm not gonna blame. Everybody talk about welfare, but we never talk about the drugs. That goddamn. I mean, all the way from Reagan back to Nixon. I mean, let's talk about some real stuff.
Yeah, we're talking about some truths. The black communities were flooded with the drug.
Yeah,
there are liquor stores on every corner. We know that.
And we know all the phases, the free base. Well, first it started with the heroin, then the free base, then the crack, and then the goddamn what we have in the 90s. We had, what else did we have? I mean, marijuana. That's just all that drugs. They slammed on us. Yeah. So yeah, let's. I'm not gonna blame the welfare. I'm gonna blame the drugs on that. And I've seen what drugs did to my family, the black men in my family, and other black men. It was the drugs.
Oh, and Trish, look at Trish, the Biden crime bill. Woo! Right. The crime bill. We can't forget the crime bill. Good. All right. So let me go ahead and I hope you guys can see all this. It's not
Hold
a lot.
on. I got to press one more thing, Miss Lynn. So Ajax Jackson says, so under the Black Son's reasoning, Black family would have been broken due to heroin and drugs, regardless of Dem policies. Well, it was the Dem policies that brought the drugs in. It was the drug policies that had the 3 strikes. It was the Dem policies that was okay for cocaine, but goddamn, lock them up forever for crack cocaine. Let's not, like, I do this, Ajax. I've lived through this. Don't play with me. I lived in South Central California under the 3 strikes law, under the Democratic policies. You got the right one. You got the right one, Ajax.
Ruby, truth bomb. Ruby gets it.
Thank you, Ruby. Yeah, this Ajax obviously don't know.
And Jeffrey said now it's fentanyl. Now it's fentanyl. Yeah, and of course with the border, God only knows the border being flooded. All the fentanyl that was that's been brought into this country over the last 4 years. Yeah. So we have a lot of cleaning up to do. What stops the men now? Access, opportunity, resource. Trish, that's a good question.
Well, Trish, there's another part to that drug epidemic too. So let's just say you had people who weren't doing the drugs, but were dealing the drugs. And you had another group of people who were dealing the drugs. They were killing each other over the drugs. So let's talk about that. Let's have a real conversation today. Let's talk about how I grew up in South Central LA, where 2 of the largest gangs, the Crips and the Bloods, killed each other over drug money. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how the essays did that. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
I don't know what part this this person, I don't know what where you come from. I'm assuming, Ajax, that you're from Canada. I'm assuming that's where you're from, because if you're in America, you know about the thing drug.
They may be trolling. They could just be trolling.
Okay, trying to get trolling. Like I said, you got the right one, and I will be glad to give the information. Because I lived through it.
Right. Okay. Critical thinking is important. We talked about stop that vote blue no matter who crap. He feels the same way. In conclusion, we talked about, all right, and we talked about the situation with the border, and remember the lack of a border czar. Thank you, Florida. Chubb says the truth is we took God out of America and let Satan in. That's a truth bomb as well. Ellison's stance on immigration and border control pretty much is in line with the way we feel here. For the most part. And I think we're going to go ahead and I'll just let you read that real quick. I want to get the video started because the title of the video is They've Kept Black America Dependent and Poor and on the Plantation. And if you have any questions for me, Isaiah, I will email this to you later, love. Yes, you took the Pledge of Allegiance out of school. And yeah. That's the end. Let me get this video going before Blackson blows a gasket over there.
I'm just saying, people playing. I lived through it, Miss Lynn. I
Yeah.
lived through the crack epidemic where I had cities like I lived in the jungle where, you ever see that movie, The Night of the Living Dead? It looked like that for real because people were on crack. Yeah. So I lived through it. I lived in the jungle. I lived in goddamn Lamert Park. I lived through it. So yeah, come on now.
All right. How many of you are familiar with? I'm just see if I can get Blacks and calm down over here.
I'm calm. I'm just like letting them know they got the right one today. That's all. Like just letting people know I'm not the one to play with.
Don't let those upset you, dear.
No, because they think that we're amateurs. I guess well, we're on YouTube. We don't know what we're talking about. Like, no, we live this.
Yeah.
So I can tell you what hit the Black community. It was the crack. It was the freebase.
Crack was a game changer. Crack was a game changer.
Heroin was a game changer. Long before the freebase.
But crack was just whoa.
Oh yeah, crack was wild. Yeah, crack was wild. I agree.
All right.
I agree. But it was wild in the 70s too, though, Miss Lynn.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Jeffrey said Blackson's telling the truth. Yeah, I know Jeffrey. I'm just trying to calm him down because he's getting heated over there.
I'm just doing some street education, Miss Lynn. You give the conventional education, I give the street education.
Okay.
They want to come in and try to be funny, and I let them know. Hey, so they see you. They see you like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just run over Miss Lynn, but I'm like the bodyguard. I let you know, no, we not playing the game together.
Blackson said he was about that life. I can't with Blackson. I cannot. Blackson, you're familiar with Vince Ellison. You know he does not bite his tongue. You know that. Malik, how are you? Yes, Malik, the government became the father, and we know anything the government touches, it turns into, I won't say it, I'll drop it in the chat, and you know what I'm talking about. Anything that they put their hands on, just look at what I put in the chat. It turns to what? Patty said, yep. Okay. How many of you are familiar with Mr. Ellison? And I'm not going to play all this. It's long. But like I said, I wish I had time to read his book. I'm just, time will not allow.
Pinky, I wasn't disagreeing with you. I was talking to that this other person, and I wasn't talking. Me, Pinky, we cool. Pinky, we cool.
I was gonna say, okay, all right, Malik. I'm well and happy. Happy New Year to you is love. Okay, so let's listen to what everything that we talk about on this channel, he talks about as well. Let me get rid of this commercial. Okay. Let me start it from the beginning. Oh my God, he's good. He is really good. Let me get rid of the last commercial. Okay, here we go.
Lie, deceive, and mislead people.
All right, let me put the closed caption in on there. There we go.
Ellison has answered his questions in his new book, 25 Lies, Exposing Democrats' Most Dangerous, Seductive, Damnable, Destructive Lies, and How to Refute Them. And he joins us and afterwards. Welcome. Thank you for having me, Armstrong. Glad to be here. What do you say to everyday, particularly Black Americans who may be skeptical about you and your book and just the explosive cover? I give them my backstory. I was born on a cotton plantation in Haywood County, Tennessee. My father was a sharecropper, plowing a mule, picking cotton. And he aspired. He bought us out plantation of Haywood County, Tennessee through the insurance industry. And he was so thankful that God had given us a middle-class life that we started a gospel singing group called the Ellison family. We went around the whole South singing gospel music all around the South. This is how I got such an intimate knowledge of the Black church. After that, I went to college, University of Memphis. And after that, I started working in a prison in South Carolina. 5 years, I worked at Kirkland Correctional Institution. And I saw the belly of the beast, and I saw evil. I understood it. I was supposed to supervise 127 hardcore felons every day. They were thousands. And I was there most of the time by myself. So in order to survive, I had to understand when somebody wanted to kill me, somebody wanted to beat me up, somebody was lying to me. I had to understand evil, and I saw it in there. But I saw a lot of young black men go, that was during the 90s, during the Clinton crime bill, Clinton Biden crime bill. And I started asking the black intelligentsia, man, why these young black men get locked up like this? You know, they started out with 3 prisons in 1990. They had 40 by the end of the decade. Well, they told me it was a bunch of rich white Republicans just hated black people.
Yep, that's what they said.
So I left my post, started working in the ghettos, and I found out something pretty interesting. I saw no rich white Republicans down there.
Nope.
In the ghettos. You can see a leprechaun before you saw one. Guess what I saw? A bunch of black Democrats. And 3 entities that I saw making money off the chaos with most black preachers, most black politicians, most black civic organizers. I call them the Black Triangle. That was my first book. This is a sequel to this. And as I studied and saw these cats were connected to the Democratic Party and found out that their number one goal was to make sure they got 90% of the black vote for the Democratic Party. Period. Full stop. Now hook about crook. And that's what they've been doing for the last, they're just, for me, they're descendants of the old slave master crew, you know? You know, it's fascinating because in one of your chapters, you talk about God won't hold you responsible. It's just a play on words. But what you're saying, when you look at, and you talk about this in your book, the dismal results about education, right, the high crime, right, the homicide, right, and how it's just so heavily concentrated in these communities, you actually believe there's a connection between the leadership who have relinquished their moral and obligation and their leadership obligation to make sure that the new plantation, you keep them as slaves, you keep them dependent, right? You make them believe that there's always racism, right? So there's no need of trying because you're going to be pushed back or discriminated against, especially when you have all these other race cases that you see, which reinforces it in their mind. They use this as leverage to further say, the white man will never allow you to progress, and therefore let us feed you because you cannot feed yourself. Yeah, I call it neo-plantationism. It's just an old play on the old show. You know, they have them now instead of picking cotton, they got them picking votes. And they have these people demoralized. And when a person is demoralized, they can't hear the truth.
Nope.
The Soviet Union did that to their people. Just beat them down and beat them down. And, you know, the schools are terrible. They destroyed every institution from the father to the education system, to the economic system. You name it, they've done it. But they've always done it. The Democrat Party, from 1800 up to now, has been perpetually probably the evilest institution on the face of this earth. Now let's look at the history. From 1800 to 1860, slavery. From 1860 to 1865, the Confederacy killed millions, almost 1 million Americans to keep their slaves. Then they destroyed Reconstruction.
Yep.
Just killed people, maimed people, hung people. After Reconstruction, what? 100 years of Jim Crow. Systematically stole elections, intimidated, bribed, murdered, anything to keep power. And do you think after the 1965 Civil Rights Act, they just changed their ways? No.
Nope.
Now they've expanded it. Abortion, atheism, socialism. And if you want to know the Democrat Party, go to the ghetto, go to the inner city, and it'll show you everything you need to know about. So you're accusing the Democratic Party of genocide without firing a bullet. Definitely. And they know it. They have the stats in front of them. Just like you and I have them. They see what they're doing. School choice will be too easy with it. To educate these young people that are in these schools in Baltimore, Detroit, and Memphis that aren't learning anything, and they know it. They know the educational choice. It's something that works because it's worked in Washington, D.C. It's worked in New Orleans. They know it works. That's why they won't do it. They know they can do it for half the cost of public education, but they won't do it. Because the one thing that scares them more than anything is like Freddie Douglass said, educated black man. They cannot control them. Keep them ignorant, keep them frightened, keep them under control. And so what's the answer? I say it's an intervention. So how are they, and I know you deal with this in your book, how are they so successful, no matter what era we find ourselves in, just targeting one community, the black community? It doesn't work for the Jewish Americans, doesn't work for Catholics, the Irish, the Italians, doesn't work for Caucasians. Why does it work so well with the overall, in your opinion, in reading your book, the black community? We've been a science experiment to them for 200 years. Their whole concept of being was to keep us under control. And they learned how to do it through demoralization. Beat them down. And so Stockholm Syndrome sets in. It's not a condemnation, it's an explanation. Patty Hearst got Stockholm syndrome when she was kidnapped and beat down. She started helping the people that kidnap or rob banks. So you start identifying with your oppressor.
Yep.
And even during the Civil War, when the Northern armies came down here to free the slaves, 95% of them were still on the plantation. They didn't leave to go after South. Matter of fact, Abraham Lincoln had to issue the Emancipation Proclamation because the slaves were having the South win the Civil War. We're digging the trenches and put up the ramparts for them. And even when they did the census in 1990, they found that 90% of black people still live down south. Didn't leave. There's a fascinating point that our guest, a correlation that he makes in his book, is when you have the potential to remove God, to remove faith, remove being accountable and responsible to a higher authority. The reason why you stress the atheism and the lack of morality in your book is because you make it clear that blacks were once a very moral, striving community. They were a blessed community. Despite human slavery, segregation, the civil rights movement, that's something they held on to. But once they were able to remove that pillar and replace God with materialism, with things and dependency, that's when they began to experience some of the most successful results instead of continuing to demoralize that community. Exactly, Armstrong. Look, we've always been poor. We've always had poor black people, but we weren't criminals. We weren't killing each other.
Yep.
We weren't destroying our families.
Yep.
When the civil rights movement activated and the liberals from the Democratic Party got inside of it, my goodness, they got inside of the black church and they made it just a conduit to the Democratic Party. Politics became part of the black church, and it never should have been. The black preacher's job, any preacher's job, C.S. Lewis said, is to get us prepared to live eternity in the presence of Jesus Christ. That's his job. We got politicians, we got lawyers, but when you are talking about God and Jesus Christ, see, I tell people, I cannot be oppressed.
That's right.
I cannot believe in systemic racism because I'm an heir of Jesus Christ. I'm a son of God. I've never met anybody superior to me. Why? Because he teaches us that we're all brothers and sisters, that we all have gifts, and that we're supposed to elevate each other's gifts. And when we elevate each other's gifts, it's supposed to deal with envy, jealousy, income inequality, better house than I got, you go to a better school than I go to. No, think about you. Elevate your gift. Help your neighbor elevate his gift. And then guess what happens? We have a beautiful society. A good doctor helps everybody. A great mechanic helps everybody. A great cook, a great teacher helps everybody. Instead, they're trying to get us to dumb America down. Yep. Saying critical race theory means that you have some type of superiority over me, and therefore I want you to give up your privilege. I was born with privilege. I had two great parents, a great family. I was born in America. That's a privilege. Heck, man, they try to tell me that being born white is a privilege. I said being born black is a privilege. But they don't want you to believe that. No, they don't want you to believe that, do they? And then I was born with the greatest privilege.
Okay, so let me, I'm not going to play the entire video, but I love the way he talks with confidence. And he says, so blacks, and you haven't been here the last few videos. I had someone to drop into the comment section and tell me that about they were oppressed and what was I talking about. And I'm like, if you anyone who believes in God, you are not a victim and you are definitely not oppressed. Blackson, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts, I want to disagree with him. He's making very good points, but it's very complex. He was saying, now I agree when he's saying separation of church and state, don't allow politics into the church. I agree with that, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. What I'm saying is it's okay to have a religious life and it's okay to get involved in politics too. But I agree, don't mix it in the church, but do be educated on your politics. So right. He did not, I don't know if he's going to explain it, but the thing is, do not throw the baby out with a bathwater. And I think too many people do that. And again, I've only heard just a little bit of what he said. What he saying it sound good, but when he said, I think people will misconstrue that, Miss Lynn, because I'm heavy in the politics. Not so much in the religion, but I'm heavy in the politics. So I think there's a place for both.
Oh, yeah. And there is.
There's a place for both because, again, if it's not for politics, we don't know where our tax dollars is going to foreign countries. So we got to be into politics to know that.
Right.
We got to be politics to know that we have an open border. We We can't just be ignorant and say, oh, well, it's just God, devil, and everything. And this is why a lot of the black men leave the church, because we are more planted into reality as opposed to let Sky Daddy take care of everything. I don't mean to offend nobody, but, you know, being a man, we want to get our hands dirty and bring food to the table and get things done. And as opposed to
Blackson also, a lot of the reason, from my research, a reason that a lot of the black men left the church, just like with the Democratic Party, there's no place for them. And now you as a man,
I disagree with that. I disagree with that.
We know. Hold on. Let me finish.
Okay.
So the way we talked about the traditional black church, how you doing, Big Cheese? If you look at its constructs, now I've had conversations with you. We know how, a higher power set everything up. And me as a woman, I might not be able, and some of the black men that I've talked to, they can see through some nonsense. You understand what I'm saying? Whereas me, I might not be able to see what's really going on. You understand, with the foolishness and the shenanigans that are going on, a lot of the women will sit there, and I've seen it. They know the minister has done some things he's not, or involved in some things he's not supposed to be in. They're there every Sunday, praise the Lord, hallelujah, and all that. Men, when some nonsense or shenanigans are going on, a real man, they're like, no, I'm not dealing with that, and they leave. I've talked to men, and when they see foolishness going on, and that's why they walked away from the Democratic Party, that's why they walked away from the black church. They're not, real men are not going to deal with that nonsense, and they see right through the charade. Michael says, I remember back in the Jim Crow days in the black church, the boys and men had to wear a shirt and tie, and the women and girls had to wear a dress. Yes, Michael, that was a long time ago. Yes. Oh my God. I look at the old films and I see that. Big Cheese says the FBA family must evolve and stop believing in the Democratic or Republican Party. That's the point, Big Cheese. You can't depend on a political party. You have to depend on your creator. Get on code and only vote for the interest of the FBA family. Big Cheese, I've been saying that for over a year. Look at the person's policies. Don't look at party. Policy. Thank you.
So, Big Cheese, what is your solution to, inflation, high gas prices, wars? Like, so do we just okay, we're gonna leave it alone God's hand, or are we gonna vote and say, we don't want this, we don't want open borders, we don't want no more high gas prices, we don't want no funding of wars, especially when the country's losing to a bigger country, as Kamala Harris would say. So what is your solution? Like, again, a portion that Miss Lynn and this guy is not talking about is the portion of black men that never attended church, like myself. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And you got revolutionary black men that just do things in a different manner. The church life was never part of our repertoire, is what I'm saying. So I hear you on the men that left the church, but maybe they were inspired by the generations of men that never went to the church, that just got this done. So I understand that you talk to a lot of men, but I'm telling you, as a black man, there's another side to that, Miss Lynn, that a lot of churchgoers don't see, because they only see church. Everybody believes in church. Everybody believes in God, but there's a lot of people where they don't.
Oh, that's fact.
There's a lot of names in history.
Address that per se.
Churchgoers. I know
this is just, man. Yeah, this is just his but he doesn't address people that don't.
Right, but again, you said, well, I know a lot of black men. When I'm telling you, as black men, I know a lot of black
people I've talked to, just people I've talked to. And when I ask, why, and they tell me, okay. Blake is exactly right.
Those are for the churchgoers. I'm talking about the non-churchgoers.
Yeah.
Maybe the churchgoers were influenced by the non-churchgoers, the generation of non-churchgoers.
And there's some people who are non-churchgoers, and they told me about some bad things that happened when years ago they used to go to church, and then they stopped.
No, I'm talking about the generations and generations who did not hear me that were non-churchgoers. They're like generations of black men that are non-churchgoers.
Yeah, and I haven't talked to anyone like that.
I know. Well, you're talking to one today that's generations that go generations back. I'm trying to tell you,
Okay.
What my theory is that it just end up being more of us than more of them, the people that went to church and all that. And
Okay.
yeah, I'm just saying there's a lot of black men that weren't churchgoers. A
Okay.
lot of us, yeah.
Okay.
And then there's a lot of people who joined the Nation of Islam. That there's a lot of Muslim black men in this country that we don't acknowledge either.
That's
So
true.
that's
That's
a
true.
whole
And,
lot.
and of course, we can't cover the entire gamut, so.
I just covered it.
No, I'm saying in this video, he doesn't, in the video, and we can't, the video is 56 minutes long. We can't play the entire thing, but we're just touching on some of it. Okay. But Blake actually says we do both. And that's what I say, Blake. You pray about it, and then, you choose, look at your values, your value system, your views, and that's how you vote. You don't vote for party. Cammie says the black church also effed up accepting the people craziness, in which is another detriment to the black family and community.
No,
Okay.
I thought we were saying don't vote for party. I thought the whole thing was vote policy. I just mentioned policies. The high gas prices policy, the war in Ukraine policy, the open border policy. These are policies. And so these policies, Kamala Harris asked what policy, she kept giggling and saying, I'm going to have Beyonce perform. I'm going to have Swift Taylor perform. She came with no policies and wondering why they got Swift
policy, baby.
Right. We're talking policy. So again, I'm confused when we say, we'll leave it all in God's hands and all that. I'm confused.
No. I said, Blake said we do both. You pray.
No, I was talking about Blake. Okay. Okay. I hear that. Yeah. There's some of us that don't pray, but they're going to get things done. That's all I'm saying.
Well, then you just, that's when you do your research. What we've been saying, do your research, look at policy. And that's how you make your determination. Michael says, Pinky, I don't attend church anymore because a lot of these black churches are filled with Democrats who support unaliving and marriage just because blacks vote. Yeah, Michael, and again, some of the men I've talked to, they've said that. Blake says, work on your connection with God and your decisions on politics becomes easy. Blake, this is excellent. You start to realize that you can't change other people, only yourself, and you plan accordingly. That's a truth bomb. I like that, Blake. Blake, I like that.
Yeah, thank you, Pinky. Yeah, I think what's confusing, Miss Lynn, is that, you have people in the church springing, leave it on all God's hands. And then it's confusing because you're taking the actions yourself. They say, don't trust in yourself. Right. No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, but it's the church is sending a mixed message, and this is why we don't mix church with politics. Yeah. I'm not knocking the people who go to church. I'm saying keep the religion, and then you have to almost live a double life, right? Yeah, and handle your politics. But politics don't have nothing to do with God. I'm just going to keep it real.
No, I said that for me and Blake. I said for me, I pray. And then I look at policy. It may not be for you. That's for me. I said that for me. So I wasn't confused. I was saying that's what I do. Does that make sense?
Okay. What I'm saying, and this is, I think we went through this a whole election cycle. The policies are very simple.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's not complicated.
No.
If you like low gas prices, which Trump has shown us here in Georgia, it came down to $1.87. And being that I own my own truck, I own my own business, it was beneficial for me. It ain't got nothing to do with God to vote for Donald Trump.
Right.
See how simple that was? Me being a former military.
Yeah.
I was looking at the war in Ukraine. I keep up with military stuff. And when I see Ukraine getting spanked and territories being taken over and we're sending money over there, it's simple. It has nothing to do with God. Stop sending money to Ukraine. When I'm at home and I see all these people complain about jobs, complain about the medical, when I had to go to the hospital and waited after I cut my finger for 6 hours, that you have an open border. That has nothing to do with God. No. Close the dang border. Yeah. It's simple. Like, what do I need to pray about?
Yeah, I get you.
It's no confusion on my end, Miss Lynn. I'd say I don't need guidance to say shut that border down.
Yeah. Well, depending on some people, I know some people, they don't make any decisions without praying. So it just depends.
And that's fine. I'm just saying it doesn't apply to all of us. Again, I don't knock the people that pray. It just doesn't apply to me because
Yeah,
these
that's fine.
policies are simple. They're simple.
Oh, yeah.
It's not worshiping the Democratic Party or worshiping the Republican Party. It's like, yo, what policies are going to goddamn close the border, stop sending money to Ukraine, and get the lower gas prices? That's how it was for me. It was simple. It was simple. It was instant. Didn't have to pray for nothing. Didn't have to pray 5 times. I didn't have to drink the wine and eat the blood of Jesus. I didn't have to do all that. It was simple. It's instant. This don't make sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Gotcha. All right, let me get the video started back. Now, I won't play the whole video, but what I did do, I added the link. So any of you who wants to watch the video in its entirety can. Because it's 56 minutes. Right?
Hold on, Miss Lynn.
What's going on?
Good. Big Cheese says Donald Trump has done very little to help the Black community. Well, he helped me a lot and a lot of Black truckers here in Georgia when the gas prices were $1.87. We had so many contracts I had to turn down, and my Black friends that own their businesses had to turn down jobs. We were trying to give jobs to people. So no, it did very well for. So what are you talking about? Stop speaking for me, Big Cheese. You're not speaking for me as a Black man and as a Black truck driver and as a Black business owner, man. That's what Black people need to stop doing. And stop saying, oh, well, Trump didn't do nothing for Black people. Well, maybe you need to ask a Black person before you make that statement, Big Cheese. If you're talking to a Black owner in one of the Black largest states with one of the most Black-owned truck drivers is the state of Georgia. It might be Texas, but I will argue the state of Georgia. And Trump did a lot for our pockets. And why do you think Trump won Georgia? So let's stop that. Stop speaking for me. Maybe he didn't do that for you, but he did plenty for me and the truck drivers that I know. And we couldn't wait to get Trump back up in office. So stop that. Man, what is going on today? Is the moon in retrograde?
I don't know. Maybe it's a full moon. I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe so.
Yeah. Let me play some more. Devil's Advocate says, listing, riding in tractor, setting hay out for cattle, getting coal is sunsetting. Okay, tractor, Devil's Advocate, be safe on the tractor, dear. Thank you for tuning in. And let me play some more of this video before.
Okay, hold on, stop it. So Big Cheese, I'm not Black, and all the Black business owners, they're not Black either, right? And the low gas prices didn't help us as truck drivers, right? Because you know there's a lot of Black truck drivers in Texas and Georgia and Louisiana. Majority of us are Black. So this is the problem. See, you're about as problematic as those people having a big tissy fit over the HBCU going to play for the Marching Band, and that you think you have ownership over Black people, man, and you need to stop that. Just saying that he didn't work for you. Stop that, bro. Just stop it, because it's offensive to me and it's offensive to my fellow business owners, because Trump did great for us. In fact, I will go online and say he's the greatest president. Put that man on Mount Rushmore, bringing gas prices down to $1.87. Man, come on now. Okay, go ahead, Miss Lynn.
Okay.
I can't let the boy fly.
You watch it. Let's watch this video so we can get Blackson to calm down.
I'm sorry. I'm allergic to bullshit. I'm allergic to bullshit.
Oh, that's okay. I'm gonna start this so you calm down. Go in your corner.
Being an heir of Jesus Christ, it says you're not under anybody. Anything you need, I got you. See, they don't want us to go back to that, because once we do that, the fighting stops, the ignorance stops, the jealousy, the hatred, all of this foolishness that makes us kill one another will stop, but they will lose their power.
No, another interesting chapter in your book, picking up on what you're saying now, when you talked about the LGBTQ and equality, and you show great respect, human beings,
Yes.
no one should be discriminated against. No one should be harmed in any kind of way because of their preferences. But you also pointed out in your book very eloquently how this has become a tool to further marginalize the Black community.
Yes, it is. What they do, they use their pain for their gain. The Democratic Party does. Same way they do us. They say, we can help you to achieve whatever it is you want. And I tell them, no, you achieve it by earning the respect of the people around you. It happens. We go back to our Bible. Cain had been rejected. His offering had been rejected by God. Cain was angry. Mad at his brother Abel. God comes to Cain and said, Cain, why are you angry? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if not, sin waits at the door to master you, but you must master it. If you do well, will you not be accepted? The CEOs done well. Accept it. When you do well, they will raise. Jesse Owens goes over beats Hitler. They give him a ticker tape parade in New York City in 34-35. This is before all the marching and all the crazy. Just Joe Louis knocks out Max Melly at Yankee Stadium, and all of the country celebrates him because he did well. I'm telling the LGBT community, don't get caught in that vice of trying to use the law of coercion to make America like you. Didn't work for us. Change the hearts of the people. Be respectful. Talk to God. If you're happy with yourself, that is enough.
Another fascinating point, I really encourage people to go out and buy your new book, The 25 Lies. You go heavy on how important morality was for the civil rights community when it was desperately needed.
Yeah.
King was moral.
Yeah.
They never compromised the moral leadership. Where is that moral leadership today? And our elected officials in the pulpit?
Wow. Armstrong, it's amazingly sad. You know, I look at it and it's hurtful because we have to have examples of how best to live. And our children aren't getting it. Matter of fact, some of the worst behavior in the world has been held up as property. And I'm looking at this and it worries me so. I have to stay in constant communication with my daughter and with my children. And I'm explaining to them, this is not proper. This is not right. Our ministers should do a better job of connecting our children up with God. What, put him first and all things then will come after. Jesus said, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men unto me. Lift him up. And no matter where you are in life, when you're starting out, if you got a job working at Walmart, making $20,000 a year, you'll be happy and you'll move up further because you're honest, you're good, you're clean, you're kind. Those are the intangibles that'll move you up. And then as you move up at Walmart, if you want to go somewhere else, people say he's a good man, she's a good woman. Yes, they're good at what they do. If you do well, you'll be accepted. And the next thing you know, you'll be like my mother, my father, who came out of poverty because they were good people, they were honest people, they worked hard. People had a good word to say about them. See, it's not waking up one morning and you're rich. You know, it's a grind, isn't it? It's a grind. And we have to teach them about the grind. And the climb is the thing that makes it so beautiful. Start out, honey. Work hard. Be honest. And our ministers have to get back to teaching our children that part of the thing that they need to teach them because they're not good at the other. I mean, one minister telling me, you just want black people to get their gold in heaven. I said, bro, you making them broke on earth and you sending them to hell at the same time. You're screwing up on both ends. At least do the one part right. Teach them how to have the peace of God here on earth. Teach them to love one another. And teach them to love themselves. Because once you love yourself, it doesn't matter how the white man feels about you or how these other people. That's what I told the LGBTQ community. Love yourself. Ain't that the greatest love of all?
So, in your book, you really chart out with facts how the big switch started in 1960.
Yeah. People believe that the big switch started in 1960. I take them all the way back to the election of 1876, when the whole southern part of the United States of America went blue, it went Democrat. Now understand, this is only about 10 years after Lincoln was assassinated. So you had a lot of black people voting for the Democratic Party then, and they had a plan for it. It was called the Mississippi Plan and the South Carolina Plan. Intimidation, robbery, murder, stuffing ballots.
And you look it up, get the book, but the Mississippi, South Carolina plan was fought out of the Democratic Party, stole elections for 100 years down south, and they're still doing the Mississippi, South Carolina plan even today. Now, so people say, well, they started voting for the Republican, the Democrat Party in 1960. I say, no. Let's look at something here because of civil rights, right? They started voting for the Democrat Party. I said, no. In 1956, 1957, Eisenhower and Nixon, two Republicans, passed the 1957 Civil Rights Act. In 1960, they passed the 1960 Civil Rights Act. Yep. Basically designed so black people down south could vote. Eisenhower also sent the 101st Airborne down to make sure that the Little Rock Nine got into Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. He also did the first Oval Office address on civil rights in the history of this nation. So if people want to start talking about civil rights and black people paying attention to civil rights, they wouldn't have voted for Kennedy Johnson. They would have voted for Eisenhower and Nixon. Nixon was running for president. Eisenhower was stepping back. So what happened? Eisenhower and Nixon do all this good civil rights stuff. About 45 million black people are registered to vote down south and protected. I tell this story. My grandfather registered to vote in 1960. They kicked him off the cotton plantation where he was in Haywood County, Tennessee. The FBI came down and told him he didn't have to go anywhere. The Eisenhower and Nixon sent him down to say that we've passed this new law to say they cannot intimidate or hurt you anymore. You're going to vote. My grandfather voted. And here's the thing, Armstrong. He voted straight Democrat. Now I asked my father why. He said, yes, black folks did what white folks told them to do back then. Mm-hmm. Even then, and at the end of that campaign, they found that 80% of black people had voted for the Democrat Party. Now, people say that, all of these Democrats switch Republican. I know Fritz Holland stayed a Democrat, George Wallace stayed a Democrat, Orville Favors, Lester Maddox, Ross Barnett, all those Southern governors and all those Southern senators, only one switch, and that was Strom Thurmond. Only one. The rest of them stayed Democrats forever, and black people voted for them. So when I started asking the question, why did this happen? It goes back to Stockholm Syndrome. It goes back to cognitive dissonance. It makes perfect sense. You've been oppressed. You've been beaten down for 400 years. Of course you're going to take on the characteristics of your master. Plus, if they had just been paying attention to the civil rights movement, we were fighting, bleeding, dying, getting shot by water hoses and bitten by dogs, eat a hamburger beside them, to go to the bathroom beside them, to drink from a water fountain beside them, to go to school beside them. Of course, when it came to vote, we were going to vote with them. Makes perfect sense.
All right. I'm not going to play. It's total 56 minutes. Those of you, Blackson, I'm hearing you got some sound going on there.
On my end?
Yes.
What does it sound like?
I don't know. Sounds like a echo of some kind.
An echo.
Yeah. All right. So, folks, again, I don't know. I hear something. I don't know what it is. But hit the like button for me, please. How you doing, Fran?
Check my sound.
Oh,
let me check my sound.
Okay. Fran, yeah. You can some of these videos that we share, I had the volume up as high as it would go. But I did have the closed captioning on. But Fran, what I did do as well, I shared the link to all the videos that I shared today so that you can go back and look at them and maybe turn your device up even higher. Oh, okay. You said it sounds better now. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Something happened to my camera, so it's the camera just switched the mic on me without me even knowing about it. But go ahead, Mr.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. Again, we're not going to show you the entire. Fran, I shared a presentation and I shared 2 other videos, which are a lot shorter. But I wanted to share this because I was watching this and I'm like, wow, this Vince Ellison. If I only had time to read his book. But we wanted to talk about this because leading to the election, we've been talking about the Democrats. And I always have people to drop into the chat and ask, why so many Black Americans continue to vote against their own best interests and vote for the Democrats. And so I'm trying to show you heard what his father said. Back then, the few Blacks that could vote, they did what they were told to do. And the white Democrat, the Dixiecrats, you know, they had a few that they would let vote, and they told you you're going to vote for the Democrat, and that they didn't have a choice. So that's just how it was. Michael says Black Republicans and Black conservatives are some of the greatest people in America. Thank you, Michael. I agree. And so what we're going to do is, okay, Ruby, Big Cheese, what's the code? Okay, Ruby is having a conversation. Ruby from Joyland, an example being on code is delineating and tethers from other spaces. Okay. So hit the like button, share this on your various forms of social media. Mr. Blackson, what are your thoughts? What are your closing thoughts? Because we're going to get out of here now.
Vince Ellison, he's a good speaker. I obviously don't agree with everything that he said.
Yeah.
Obviously don't agree with everything he said. Oh gosh, no, but I see how, you know, he's very eloquent and he can fool the women, you know, by his talk. But yeah, he can't fool, you know, certain people like myself, because it's
like what he says in relation to history.
I know you did.
History.
No, yeah. What he said was about history, but he kind of missed the Battle of Athens. A lot of the, you know, that was rigged. That was rigged, but that's one point. But when he used Martin Luther King as a template, that means you, Miss Lynn, you can't be against Black Lives Matter because they're using the same template Martin Luther King is using. Al Sharpton using the same template Martin Luther King's using, because Martin Luther King took payments from LBJ. But again, if you're only in the Christian community, what did you say? No,
no. I
show the receipt.
I do not support Black Lives Matter.
Oh, okay. Well, they're using the same template as Martin Luther King there.
Well, he didn't have a website.
But if you're only
in the Christian, he was against the nuclear family.
If you're only in the, well, again, I'm talking about the template as target taking payments. We always talk about, oh, well, the Black Lives Matter, they taking payola, and Martin Al Sharpton taking payola. Well, the one who started payola was Martin Luther King, taking payments from LBG, Lyndon Baines Johnson there. Okay. But again, if we're only in the Christian community, we only see like this. But when we learn from other communities, see, the divide that I don't like that this man keeps pushing, it alienates the people from the Nation of Islam and people like, I don't know, Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, Brother Malcolm, you know what I'm saying, who exposed Martin Luther King for taking money from LBJ. Yeah, well, so
and we all have our own different opinions. And
it's not an opinion, it's a fact, Ms. Lynn.
Yeah, but I'm still.
It's a fact. Martin Luther King took money, him, James Farmer, the Big Five took money from LBJ.
I know, and I know a lot about what went on. I found
B. Johnson was a Democrat.
That went on behind the closed doors that I didn't approve of, but they're not like, he's not like Black Lives.
Okay, the topic here is the Plantation, the Democratic Party, right?
Yep.
Lyndon B. Johnson was a Democrat. What is he not?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Lyndon B. Johnson started the platform of paying, before they were paying the preachers, before they were paying Al Sharpton, they were paying Martin Luther King, James Farmer, and all those other Big Five during the Civil Rights. And they started that template where they were getting kickbacks. Miss Lynn, this is a fact. This is not an opinion. This is a fact.
Dr. King wasn't buying mansions, though.
Really? So he wasn't taking money from LBJ?
I said he wasn't buying mansions like Black Lives Matter.
So he did not set up the template from the Democratic Party to take payola.
He may have set it up, but he did not. If you look at his platform versus theirs, there is no way.
Y'all notice the bait and switch she's doing, right? See, she's from New York, but see, we don't do the 3-card money where I'm from. See, you can't do that to me, Miss Lynn. So but he ain't got to mention, he took the payola. The template of payola started with Lyndon B. Johnson in the top 5 and Martin Luther King being one of them. That is a fact. Let's not get distracted. Well, he didn't buy a mansion. That's that 3-card money. See, you know, she was raised in, you know, she's from New York, Pennsylvania. They do the 3-card money up there. But see, in California, we don't do the 3-card money. So miss me with that. Where he didn't buy a mansion. He set up the payola. the payola, and
Michael.
this is why we keep the Christian community only with the Christian doctrine, only with the Christian history, because when we learn from other people like the Nation of Islam, Malcolm X, and goddamn Dr. Khaled Abdul Muhammad, and all them, when we learn, oh, Martin Luther King was taking payola. Okay. Oh, so he set up a template. Okay.
And again, doing this channel, when I found out, again, I did a video on Dr. King receiving the Margaret Sanger Award. Did I agree with when I found that out, it was disheartening, but you know, hey, I still, you know,
okay, I just gave you some more disheartening information. That's not an opinion, that is a fact. He started the template of the payola. It started with Lyndon B. Johnson in the top 5. And one of the top 5 was Martin Luther King. So if you're against Oprah Winfrey taking payola, if you're against Al Sharpton taking payola, well, it all started with LBJ and Martin Luther King.
How you doing, Jeffrey? Stealing is stealing. So my thing was, now that Blackson's letting me talk. So if King received money from the LBJ, okay. Again, I didn't see King out here. He was not living in man. He didn't let me finish. No, let me finish. He was not out here buying mansions, talking about how bad it was for Black America, but he's over here living in mansions. Oh, James said cat fight.
Martin Luther King did not have a chance to buy a mansion because he was taken out and he wouldn't want to be exposed. But I guess that's an opinion. But the payola is a fact. So the payola is a payola. How you decide to spend it, Miss Lynn, if you want to buy a mansion or a Corvette, that's on you. But the point is that the payola template started with LGB, Lyndon Baines Johnson, and Martin Luther King, and the other 4. That you can't change that, Miss Lynn. You can't try to distract people like, well, he didn't buy a mansion. Miss me with that, Miss Lynn. Miss me with that.
Well, he still did some good. I don't see any good that Black Lives Matter has done. So, well, and I think King, before he was taken out, he was what's that statement that he made? I think he was starting to feel like, what was that quote he said?
Right, I integrated my people into a burning house.
Burning house.
He realized that after he started hanging with Malcolm X. I rest.
Yeah. Malcolm X, I read his autobiography twice.
And this is why they tried to keep Malcolm from talking to King, because, you know.
Yeah, they kept them at each other's. They wanted to keep them at each other's throats.
Oh, no, they were good friends. They were good friends. And that's why.
But I'm saying, you know, with the media, they would, you know.
That's why Martin Luther King had a whole different changed perspective, because he realized, wait a minute. He
realized too late what, you know. But I give it to him. I give it to Malcolm. They were trying to do with what they had. They tried to do the best that they could. They saw situations they did not like, and they tried to do what they could do. And so, you know, hey, big cheese.
What I'm saying, Miss Lynn, if the government gives you money or pays you money, they expect you to toe the line for that.
You just gotta do what you're told.
And if you don't toe a lot of money for it, then something might happen to you. Oh, wait. Did happen to Martin Luther King, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, so apparently, this is my theory now, he wasn't towing the line for that money he was getting, was he?
Well, his time was up.
So you admit to everybody he was taking payola.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, from some of the things,
you would have only had a problem if you'd have bought a mansion, is what you're telling everybody.
No, I wouldn't have had a problem. I didn't have a problem with him taking money, but he and Malcolm both, in my eyes, this is what I'm saying. They did the best that they could with what they had. And so both of them did things right, both of them did things wrong. But hey, I give kudos to both of them, because they were trying to help their people. That's my take.
Lyndon B. Johnson gives you money, you better toe the line for that money, or you will be taken out. It's just that simple. Whether it be Bill Clinton, whether it be Barack Obama, whether it be, I don't know, whether it be Kamala Harris. If they give you a check, they want you to toe the line. I don't know if y'all seen that video where Kamala Harris was telling Bernie Sanders, you better do it your toe. It was a hot mic. I don't know if she must have been drunk, but she said, you better do it your toe. So apparently, if Martin Luther King is getting this money, he's getting paid for a reason, Miss Lynn.
Yeah.
That's to toe that line within our order. And if you step out of that order, something might happen to you, Miss Lynn. And Malcolm X exposed them.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Michael, maybe we'll do a show on that. Okay. Because I saw something even recently with a video with Vince Ellison, who was telling me some things about Dr. King. So I have
James said, Black Son, you made your point. Did I make my point?
You made your point.
My point is that Vince Ellison is a smooth talking brother, and he's going to goddamn get over with the ladies every time. And a good looking woman like Miss Rolynn, the smooth brother, Mr. Ellison, he knows how to talk to the ladies, because ain't nothing but the ladies up in the churches. Ain't nothing but ladies in the Christian churches. He ain't got to talk to us fellas. He just talk to the smooth, so he can talk to the ladies. And the ladies like, oh my God.
I'm gonna have to
look at Miss Lynn. Defending I'm doing a 3-card money for this man.
Blackson, you wait till we get offline. I'm gonna chop your kneecaps off.
I'm just saying, Miss Lynn, is Vince Ellison a good looking brother?
He is.
Okay. He's got a nice voice and everything.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. See, that's how
you shut your face.
That's how they get you. That's how they get you.
Oh my God. Blake said we're both a trip. Yeah, we're gonna go. We're gonna go.
I'm just saying, Miss Lynn got smooth. She got fooled by the good looks, the smooth talking, and the elegant.
I actually like the history and his story, what he shared with his father, and how his father instilled hard.
That's how they suck you in. That's how they suck you in.
That's all right. I agree with it. So
I got you, Miss Lynn. I just got you. I'm just saying it's, and not a knock to my old school brothers that come from the slavery, this and that. But when you got people like myself that grew up in South Central LA with drive-by shootings, it's like, I don't know, we kind of, doze off. And, I'm just saying, Miss Lynn.
I know. Well, we're going to go.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Blackson, I don't know. We'll be live again. I don't know what day. Fran Rushy, Vince Ellison.
Fran said, yeah, he's a good looking brother. He's a good looking brother. He's smooth talking. He's clean cut. Yeah.
We're gonna go.
See, in the nation, they teach you how to look for that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not a Muslim, y'all.
Okay. So he's Michael, no, he's not. Shit, Ruby's telling you to go outside.
That's why I got sick. I was out burning leaves and I inhaled the fungus from the dang bark. So yeah, I'm trying to stay from outside for a minute.
No, now listen, where's Michael? Once we finish the live, watch the rest of it. It's just too long, but yeah, I just like his views on the Democratic Party. They're just like my own. Has nothing to do with his looks. I don't know what Blackson's talking about.
No, Michael Malik. No, what he said some factual things, but he left out some very important facts. The Battle of Athens was a rigged elections.
But see, Blackson,
Battle of Athens.
He has other. We don't have time to play all his videos. Maybe he has mentioned it. I don't know. This is just one.
Okay, that's fine. But what I'm saying is that there's certain parts of history that I'm listening to that I know pieces of the puzzle that he's just totally ignoring. Again, if Martin Luther King was such a great template, then we got to start honoring Al Sharpton. We got to honor Jesse Jackson. We got to honor Black Lives Matter. We got to honor all these people that take payolas. We cannot see because Oprah Winfrey is not good looking as this man. Miss Lynn ain't gonna agree with Oprah Winfrey taking the same payola as this man, Ellison. He praised Martin Luther King, and all these people are using the same template that started with MLK. That's my point. I made the point. I know y'all I know James is tired of me making that point, but apparently it's going over Miss Lynn's head. So, you know,
It's not over my, I understand, but I'm just, what else can I say? I said, okay. Right,
what
James?
I'm saying is stop ridiculing BLM. And then when this man talking about Martin Luther King, we're like, wait a minute. See, look at you.
No.
Where did it start, Miss Lynn? Where did all the payola start from?
We'll talk about that another day. I'm getting ready to get off.
Exactly.
That's
my case, y'all.
Yeah, I mean, but honestly, MLK has been exposed for you. I mean,
I'm not playing both sides, Big Cheese. I was never down with Martin Luther King. Never. I was always a Malcolm X type of guy. So
I like both. Again, they both did what they could. Both of them did things wrong. Both of them did things right. So that's my take.
Yeah, but Big Cheese is Kramer versus both sides. How am I playing both sides?
I know I'm old. You went back Kramer versus Kramer, Dustin Hoffman. Woo! All right, we're gonna go. Let me sing us out of here. Let me see. What do you want me to sing, Blackson?
Somewhere out on that horizon,
I see your true colors shining through. Cindy Lauper.
Why'd you ask me to make a request?
I don't
seeing
know.
the Eagles and Lord, don't ask me.
James, why can't we be friends? 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 Woo! Yes. Thank you,
Ariella, be safe. They're expecting a storm in Tampa. Yeah, be safe out there.
Be safe.
Be
prayers
safe
up. Prayers up, love. And also, I cannot end without singing a Fleetwood Mac song. Thunder only happens when it's raining. Players only love you when they're playing. Woo! I have to do my best Fleetwood Mac impersonation.
Robert Butler wants us to do a show on AOC.
Oh God, we'd have to do 2 or 3 shows. Okay, let us talk about it, Rob. What we're doing now. Thank you again for spending your very valuable time here at the Rolynn Reviews YouTube channel. Thank you, Michael. Yes, love. Woohoo! Thank you, dear. I'm going to the comment section, and I'll talk to you as long as you're there. Now, if there are other topics you'd like for us to discuss, love you too, Isaiah. Once I end the live, you can leave a description up under the comment up under the video. If you want to watch this video in its entirety, since I couldn't play all of it, it's already in the description box. Thank you, Jeffrey. We'll see you. We'll be live again. I don't know. Just depends on how the week goes, but we'll be live before Saturday. I know that. All right. Thank you again. And thank you, Fran. Thank you, love. We got you, Aurelius. Prayers up. Stay strapped. We got you. Thank you, Michael. I'm going to the comment section, so come talk to me there. Thank you.